Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm just going to make a quick video about cryptocurrency regulation here. What's prompting me to do this at this exact moment is I just came across a short video clip that took place earlier today, and it had Ashish Burla asking a question of Hester Peirce of the SEC about cryptocurrency and WEN regulation, which I think I'm probably going to make that the title of this. And if I spell it W-E-N, that's intentional. That's the joke. That's how people spell it, so that they sound like idiots in the crypto world. WEN Moon, WEN Lambo, WEN regulation. So anyway, there's that, and then I'm also going to cover, there's another short clip I'll talk about. It had to do with UK regulation, and then I'm going to wrap it up with a tweet from Barry Silbert and a tweet from Peter Schiff. So this should be a rather quick one, but since this just happened this afternoon, this video came out, I wanted to cover it because I found it rather fascinating. Before we get going, though, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and hey, if you break it, you buy it. Don't smash that thing. And subscribe if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP. I appreciate the support. So I wasn't aware of this event, but there's something called Fortune Tech, and so here's the Twitter page. I was not aware of this, and I guess presumably this is the page, July 16th, 18th. This event's going on in Aspen, Colorado. Then I came across this tweet from Ashish Burla, and he is the Senior Vice President of Product at Ripple, and he's one of the original Ripple employees. Like he goes back, like he's been there since back in the day. And so he tweeted this out. Interesting to hear directly from the SEC's Hester Peirce at Fortune Tech today in discussing a crypto regulatory timeline. And then he quoted her, one of the things that she said, I worry because innovation doesn't wait, it finds the place where it can go. And those are very true words indeed. Definitely very true words here. And it was kind of fascinating seeing Ashish Burla in this particular video. Usually when I see him talking, he's the one on stage, but it looked like it was set up kind of like a conference, and he was in the crowd, and he got the mic, and he was able to ask a question just as a participant in the crowd, basically. And what he said was rather fascinating. I'll pull up here. This is the video clip here, and I'll link this below in case you guys want to hear it for yourselves. But he asked Hester Peirce of the SEC, he said, he kind of started, well, first he introduced himself, and he said, well, Ashish Burla with Ripple, and when it comes to regulation, we're seeing a lot of adoption in those countries in terms of adopting our tech, and he was referencing his company's tech, Ripple's technology. So we're seeing a lot more adoption in countries where there has been regulatory clarity, and we're not seeing that in the United States, obviously. And so she said in this video clip here that he's concerned that lack of regulatory clarity will move the innovation over to Asia, because that's what he sees happening in real time right now. As he cited specifically in this video, he said, look, banks, they're hesitant to jump on board with this Ripple technology because there is not clarity. And I do understand that, even though in terms of AML and KYC requirements, Brad Garlinghouse has stated, hey, look, we're already complying with this. Banks don't even have to touch XRP. But banks are very conservative entities, and so if they're being extra cautious on that front, I don't begrudge them for that. I completely understand where they're coming from, in fact. But this is all unfortunate. And so Hester Peirce's response to this was rather fascinating. What she said was, she was very open and honest. I've actually heard her speak to this effect in the past, but what she she was asked, how long is this going to take? Like, is there a timeline? That's what Ashish asked her. And she didn't explicitly state what the timeline would be, but she said, slow. And she kind of even said the word slow. So, and she was so forthcoming, and she just said, the truth of the matter is that the SEC is afraid that if they regulate this now, and really they're going to have to regulate it to some degree at some point, but once they add clarity, she said that if something were to go wrong, she said that her colleagues are basically terrified that they'll be blamed, and you can imagine what that would do to their careers, of course. So they're worried about their own necks, essentially. That's what Hester is saying. And she said, in response to that, to her colleagues, she said, well, I'm the one in the limelight. You can pretty much blame it on me. I'm paraphrasing here, but you can just pin it all on me, basically. And those are kind of true words, because she's the one that's all over the news when it comes to crypto and the SEC. She's all over the place, and she is very pro crypto, and she's all for regulating it also. So that's good to see. I just wish that everybody else in the SEC was just as forward-thinking. So It's coming. It's just going to be really, really slow, but it's one of those things where once it does happen, you will see more adoption. I firmly believe, just like she said, he said it right there. He's a Ripple employee saying banks, the customers, they're hesitant to touch the stuff, touch crypto in general. And so I believe that once there's some regulatory clarity, you will see banks jumping on board in a number of ways, whether it's creating their own custody solutions or just jumping on board using Ripple technology when it comes to cross-border payments, Xcurrent and XRapid, utilizing XRP, of course. So to me, it seems like just a matter of time, but it was cool to hear a very honest response from Hester Pierce, so bravo on that front. This is another clip. This is just from the other day, and this is from a UK Chancellor. And he was talking about Libra, and look, they're kind of nailing it on the, at least lately in the headlines, it seems that way. They've been kind of nailing it on actually putting forth legitimate regulation, not trying to squash cryptocurrency as an asset class or as an asset in general for any particular coin, and not squelching anything. In fact, it was interesting when this guy was talking about Libra. He said that it holds great promise. He's just concerned about this type of technology potentially being used for illicit purposes. And that is a fair concern. That's fine. Regulate it to whatever degree you can and prevent that to whatever degree that's even possible. But he thought that actually Libra, if it, assuming it ever actually exists, he thinks that would be a force for good, which is fascinating. So you can see, I like highlighting this stuff because you can see the world is slowly coming around, and it is slow, but it's all coming here. It's all coming. Check out this. Here's another thing on government. This is from Barry Silbert. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. No, actually, I do kind of know how I feel about this. Barry Silbert tweeted this out. We are one step closer to Bitcoin mining being deemed by United States government as critical infrastructure. Okay, let's keep reading here. He goes on. Government will then try to bring mining to the U.S. through financial incentives and, perhaps, might get into mining itself. Other governments will, of course, respond by doing the same. Facepalm. No, I could be wrong, and if I am, then fine, I'll eat my words, whatever. I've been wrong before in life. I try not to be. That's why I try to use as much logic as possible. Can you really see this happening here? I see the opposite of that. I see the world moving away from proof of work because proof of work doesn't work, as Ryan Zagone said in a video clip, which, to me, it's the perfect way to sum up what's going on. Proof of work doesn't work. Proof of work doesn't work. He said it twice. That's how strong he believes it. There's so many problems with it. I mean, it results in slow transactions. There's high transaction fees. It's not easily scalable. The energy side of it's absolutely outrageous how much energy this all consumes. I like Galgatron's responses. This made me laugh. All he wrote was, "I can't stop blinking," as if he's sitting there staring at the screen like he doesn't believe his eyes when he just read, which I found kind of comical anyway. So, what do you guys think? I just don't think that's happening here. One more tweet I wanted to cover, and then I got to sign off. I'm trying to keep this short here. This is from Peter Schiff, Goldbug. Peter Schiff, I like this guy. I agree with him on most stuff, just not crypto stuff. But at least mostly not on crypto. He actually says some smart stuff as it pertains to Bitcoin, and there are some negatives of Bitcoin that he states that actually are quite accurate. But anyway, that's not what I'm getting into in this video. So he tweeted this out. How does incorporating Beyond Meat products into its menus make Blue Apron's flawed business model any more profitable? It doesn't. Yet Blue Apron shares closed up 35% on the news. This type of reaction only happens during bubbles. The current bubble is the biggest ever. And so he's talking about the stock market here. Yep, here's I'm just going to say like two quick things on this, and then I'm going to sign off here. The stock market is at essentially all-time highs. It doesn't matter if it is literally the second. It's been on a bull run for like over a decade. Normally, recessions occur every 7 years, so we are well past due. This thing's being propped up by what? And people, I think Peter's making a fair point. He really is here. And this Blue Apron deal, which I hadn't heard. This is the only news I have of this, but assuming it is exactly as he stated, yeah, that seems kind of wacky to me. It didn't freaking do anything. But you do see that type of exuberance occur in bubbles in general. It's just like on steroids during the 2017 bull run of Bitcoin and the rest of crypto. Okay. So here's the reason that I wanted to mention this to you. Big picture, and this is not financial advice. I want to say that I'm going to wrap up my video by stating the same thing, but I want to say it right now too. To me, it's. I'm not telling you not to buy in the stock market. I'm not saying that. If you're with it long term, it makes a ton of sense. It's very safe long term. I believe, as long as you believe the United States economy is going to continue to exist, which I certainly do. That said, it's scary buying in at all-time highs, isn't it? If you are listening to this, I bet some of you out there listening to this did buy into crypto at the all-time high, and that was probably a painful lesson. I hear you. I totally get it. That's not to rub it in. It's to say I sympathize. I get it. In 2008, I mean, not saying we're going to have a crash like this, but in 2008, the stock market lost 40% of its value. Wouldn't have been fun to buy in at the, at the tippity top there either. So, look, I'm not telling you, again, not to buy stocks. If you are a long-term person, then it makes perfect sense, and that's fine. But it is scary nonetheless, especially if you're just jumping in now to start buying when we're seeing all-time highs here. And that's why, for me, seeing that cryptocurrency actually right now is not in a bubble. And I did say at the height of the mania of the last bull run in crypto at end of 2017, early 2018, I was calling that a bubble back then because it was. It absolutely was a bubble, and it's not anymore. Prices have deflated, and now the prices are much more reasonable levels, and they're going to go up further and further and further, I'm sure. But I was right that it was a bubble, and it did pop. I just didn't know when it was going to pop, and I didn't bother even trying to call that. So what I wanted to point out here is that, funny enough, as dangerous as people think crypto is, it's the stock market that's in a bubble, and it's the crypto asset class that is not in a bubble today. But it will. Mark my words, crypto's going to end up in another bubble. It will. It will. And this, just because something's in a bubble, it doesn't mean that it's some sort of Ponzi scheme or scam or this or that. All asset classes end up in bubbles at one point or another. Gold's been in a bubble. Real estate's been in a bubble. I think it's in a bubble right now, actually. The stock market's in a bubble. Crypto is not. Do what you will with that information. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!